Hi folks and welcome back. These are the game dev diaries for Project AGOSHA Origins, and right now I'm actually working on the file for the Schillinghoch incident. I'm kind of building the landmass here for the game. I've already set up the landscape size. It's actually quite large, and I've already brought in water body, ocean, and water body island. You can see I've got my clouds are moving ridiculously fast, but I messed up a major file in Unreal, so they're always flying that speed now, unless I go back and edit it, and trust I will before the game is released. But right now I can't be bothered to mess with it, so I'm just playing around with the sculpting of the island there that you see. I'm kind of working... Oh, camera pan, there we go. I'm kind of working with the landmass and just trying to play with the overall access point between the mainland and that island, which is going to be of some import for the Schillinghoch incident, which is the first level of Project AGOSHA Origins and will be available completely for free on Steam. And I was thinking here I was going to cut a bit of a path into the rockway, something you can just player can just kind of traverse up. But I'm not really loving how this is looking, and it's getting a bit wonky looking here. So I think I'm just going to flatten out the top a little bit because I don't want to mess up that platform area. I've got a lot of assets that have to go up there, and I don't want it to be looking too weird with that mess about I've tried to do for a pathway. I didn't cut deep enough into there, so now it just looks weird. And yeah, increase the brush size a little bit, but it didn't quite now. Right, maybe the threshold is just a little bit. My depth is it? No, that's not quite what I'm looking to do. Alright, try a little bit deeper in that now. Alright, increase the strength. Really try at that. Still no, that's not what I want it to look like at all. It's just, instead of looking like a pathway into the cliff, it looks like the cliff just kind of fell off. So let's get rid of all that. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do here now is I'm actually going to flatten this out and kind of create a bit of an outcropping of rock there, and see what I can do to really, yeah, that's more like it. Kind of give you an out-cliffing look to it. Yes, definitely. That's better. That's better. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit more like what I want it to look like. All right. Now let's adjust. Let's lower it down a little bit. I want to start just kind of smoothing this a little. Give it a little bit more depth, a little bit more character there. Alright, yeah, it's looking a little eroded. I like it. So you always have to use the erosion tool for that. And now I'm going to just drag it down and make it into a bit of an outcropping that's looking like jagged rocks. Yes, very much so. Okay, that's really giving me eroded without using the erosion tool or the hydro tool here. Now I want to point out this is simply the flatten and lower settings, and it's giving me eroded seawater cave aspecting to this, and I'm really liking how it looks. Now it is a bit jangled, I do understand, and when I throw my materials on there I'm going to have to be careful about how I do my spacing so that it doesn't pop through with weird holes or gaps in the actual material. But I think that's looking very reefy, very dangerous area that you're going to have to traverse through, so I'm liking it. That's definitely what I want it to look like. Very jagged, very dangerous, because this area is going to be just that, dangerous. Alright, I'm just smoothing out a bit here, giving it, again, I want that access point to be pretty straightforward. Alright, so let's see if we can do the interval there. Give it a little bit of a adjustment, a little bit of jaggedness, a little bit of creepy. Not terribly creepy. This isn't this area, while it is dangerous, isn't that kind of, it's not quite what I want it to look like. Oh, it's back out of that. I don't think so. Not really quite meeting what I wanted it to be here. Alright. I'm sorry if my voice is a bit rough right now. I've spent the last 2 hours doing some voiceover work, and so my voice is getting a little bit tired as I'm narrating this. But at this point, I think I'm going to go in. I think I'm done with the island, that part of the island anyway, for a bit. And I think I'm going to turn my attention to the mainland here and start really fleshing this out for what I want it to look like. So I want a good visual for where the island is, because that's kind of my anchor point in developing this, since this is only part of the landscape of what you're going to see in the game, and I've had to force myself not to create all the rest of it because I can only render so much with my GPU at a time, and Unreal has a habit of crashing my GPU every opportunity it gets. So that either tells me I need to upgrade or calm down. And at least for right now, we're just going to calm down. So we need to calm down. The graphics are too loud. But anyway, nice little sparkle of sunlight in the water there. I am definitely going to have to slow that down when it comes time for actual dev play. But for right now, we'll leave it alone. It's just this pretty little sparkle going on there. It is time to start sculpting some landscape. And so first and foremost, not the right place and not the right size brush. I've got to figure out, I've got my map in front of me, so I'm looking exactly where everything is supposed to be in comparison to that island. And we are going to start building the mountains for Tor Manath Tur, Kare Tur, and the valley for Schulengoch. So it's going to start looking like a bunch of, to me they look like biscuits, little cookies all over the place, because it's coming up in a circular shape. You'll see in a minute. It'll start looking like cookies, piles all over the map. That's alright, I'll smooth them out and edit them out so you don't see cookie piles everywhere. Of course, if you're prone to seeing other things, they might look like piles of other stuff, but on this channel, they're cookies, biscuits, if you will. Alright, so right now I'm just kind of getting the height variations. Take a look over here. Yeah, so, okay, that's going... Oh, camera pan. Why are we looking at the sky? There we go. Okay, now I can actually see my height variation, see where this is going to be the mountain platform that the main castle is going to sit on, so it needs to be pretty up there. Furthermore, we've got a lot of mountainous ranges. This island, it's an island for right now because, like I said, I'm not going to put the rest of the landscape in there, but for right now, it's fairly mountainous. So even though there's going to be tons of vegetation and forest everywhere, there's also going to be lots and lots of hills and valleys. So I need to start building those in. So right here, I can't quite decide what I want to do from my perspective. There we go. All right, so let's start putting some boundaries out for the outside. Nah, I don't like that. Let's try it again. All right, I want to build the mountains. But first I'm going to need to really make sure I've got my placement right, because there we go. All right, let's start building the mountains, because there are mountains in between all the major areas of this gameplay. So the natural foliage and landscape is going to kind of hide the visibility of everything around you. So when you're in it, even when you're on top of the mountains, it's not necessarily going to be able to see everything, because there's going to be trees and trees and trees until you get to like an open platform or open yep, there the piles of cookies or other things, whatever your eye sees. It's between you and your psyche. So anyway, let's build the wall aspect to the mountains, because the hill thing kind of just converges onto a platform where it's kind of been spaced out a little bit for the castle. And then the major area of the landscape is going to be connected by the paths, which will be another video where I'm putting the splines and the pathways in. But right now I'm going to kind of create just piles and piles of these mountains. Biscuit piles everywhere. Might be close to dinner time. I'm getting hungry because I'm thinking of biscuits all the time. Right, anyway. Keep adding them, keep adding height to it. Just kind of building up the area. And unfortunately, if you've done this before, you know what that's doing on the edges. It's making tall undershows of the edges that I'm going to have to go back and fix in. But I like painting this kind of stuff in this way. Is it messy? Yes. Is it the most efficient way you could do this? No, probably not. But if you've ever seen my time-lapse speed paints of my drawings, you know I do decent outlining and then I go back and throw paint color everywhere and then go back and clean it up into my lines, redo the lines to make them really pop, and then go back and add highlights and stuff like that. So, or shadows. I do my landscape painting and sculpting the exact same way. I'm going to over sculpt the heck out of it and then go back and tweak it and then go back and fix the things that any procedural dev would have done at the beginning, but I'm not a procedural dev. I'm not vibe coding, but I'm vibe landmassing, if you will. It feels good and I like it, we're going to go with it. And alright, so yeah, that's a little flat. I'm not loving how flat that is. I'm going to need to kind of erode that out, but first I want to kind of smooth all the cookies away. We don't like the piles of biscuits, so yeah, there's more piles of biscuits here. Let's add a little bit more. Not quite what I'm really looking for yet, but yeah, give it a little bit more character. And this is not exact representation of the segment of Wales where the game is set. So I'm taking artistic and authoristic license here to reshape the landmass as I see fit for what I need for both the story and the game. So my apologies to Wales. I am going to have to move things around a little bit to make it fit, and I'm going to get creative with my mountain range. You will not find Erwitva in this mountain range. So this is not Snowdon Park, this is not Llanberis. This is my creative version of the segment of Wales for this game and for the story. So don't go looking for the specific mountain range there. And even so, Mynydd Tŵr is not it's not going to look like what it actually looks like. So from this game to what it actually looks like, so not quite. Neither is Ceri Tŵr. But then again, this is set in 12th century Wales, so you know what, maybe it did look closer to that, 800 and some odd years ago. Alright, so I'm kind of got off track, just musing about historical accuracy and artistic license. So what I've done here is I'm kind of smoothed out the cookies and I am adding some erosion texturization and shifting to give it a more weathered look and to really get rid of the big flat parts the whole time. And I'm going in and just kind of smoothing it out and really adjusting the texture. I don't want those big circular blobs everywhere from the tool itself as well. And as you can see, as I'm smoothing down into there with the erosion tool, it's giving me a little dips in the landscape where the shoreline is. And I really love how that looks because it's giving it very eroded beach, lagoon creation aspect, and it gets rid of those horrid straight lines where the water meets the not the water meets the waves, goodness, where the water meets the beach, because you don't see perfectly smooth straight lines, if ever, on the beaches. There's always little inlets, there's always little hills, there's always little divots where the water's making, grabbing the land or the sand with its greedy fingers. And so I'm kind of creating that here and just giving it a little bit of texture, a little bit of personality, and smoothing out where the mountainous ranges kind of come down to the beach, because that is beach there. That's not just mountain meeting the ground in the water there. So you're going to have some paths you can travel to go around there. And I just haven't set the splines and the pathways in yet. All right, let's do a quick flyover and just kind of see how that looks. It's not bad. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this game dev journey. And now you know. I'll see you next time.